Good morning, my dear students. Today, I would like to give you the concept of solvency ratios along with formulas. This is for become 6th semester of Dibrugarh University. The solvency measures the financial positions of the firm. Such ratio measures the ability of the firm to assure the payment of its long-term debt in time. The important ratios in this category: first one, debt equity ratio. Debt equity ratio is one of the important ratios to measure the soundness of the long-term financial policies of the firm. It measures the solvency of the firm in the long run. As the name indicate, it measures the ratio between the debt and equity of the firm. It is also known as internal equity ratio. It indicates the relationship between the long-term outsiders' debt to that of the shareholders' fund. It is calculated as long-term debtors divided by shareholders' fund. A shareholders' fund consists of equity share capital, preference share capital, reserve and surplus minus any fictitious asset. Long-term debt are all those outsiders' debt which becomes due after 1 year. Debt equity ratio measures the solvency of the firm. It provides a margin of safety to its long-term creditors. The smaller the ratio, the more secured are the creditors. An ideal debt equity ratio is 0.33. A ratio higher than this is an indication of risky financial position and hence reflection of high financial risks. Second one, funded debt to total capitalization ratio. As the name suggests, the two terms used in this ratio are funded debt and total capitalization. Funded debt consists of debentures, mortgage loan, bonds, and other long-term loan. Total capitalization consists of equity share capital, preference share capital, reserve and surplus, other undistributed profit, debentures, mortgage loan, bond, and other long-term loan. Thus, this ratio establishes a relationship between the long-term loan raised from outsiders and the total long-term fund available in the business. This ratio is calculated as funded debt divided by total capitalization. Although there is no fixed norm for this ratio, however, a ratio up to 0.50 is considered as good indicator of long-term solvency of the firm. The smaller the ratio, the better the solvency positions would be. Third one, proprietary ratio. Proprietary ratio expresses the relationship between shareholders' fund to total asset of the firm. The shareholders' fund is calculated. The total asset are the total resources of the firm. This ratio is calculated using the following formula: shareholders' fund divided by total asset. This ratio signifies the extent to which shareholders' fund is used to procure total asset. Higher ratio indicate the more of the total asset are purchased out of the shareholders' fund and reflects better solvency positions for the firm. Fourth one, ratio of total liabilities to total asset or solvency ratio. This ratio is a small variant of equity oblique proprietors ratio. It can be calculated as outsiders liabilities divided by total asset. Although it can be calculated as 100 minus proprietary ratio, this ratio shows the extent to which total assets are purchased from outsiders fund, or the extent to which total asset is financed by outsiders fund. This ratio signifies the extent to which outsider fund is used to procure total asset. Higher ratio indicate the more of the total asset are purchased out of the outsiders fund and reflects lesser solvency position for the firm and vice versa. Fifth one, a fixed asset to net worth ratio, or ratio of fixed asset to proprietors fund. This ratio shows the relationship between fixed asset and shareholders fund, or net worth. The formula to calculate this ratio is fixed asset after depreciation divided by shareholders fund. This ratio signifies to what extent shareholders fund is being used to procure fixed asset. Although there is no standard norm for interpreting this ratio, but a ratio of 0.60 to 0.65 is considered to be satisfactory. If the ratio is less than 1, it indicates that some amount of shareholders fund is utilized to finance the current asset. 2. And if the ratio is more than 1, it means that shareholders fund is not sufficient to finance the entire fixed asset, and a part of the fixed asset are financed by the external sources of fund. 6.1 Fixed asset ratio, or ratio of fixed asset to total long-term fund. As the name indicates, this ratio shows the relationship between fixed asset and total long-term fund. Long-term fund include share capital as well as borrowed capital. The ratio is calculated as fixed asset after depreciation divided by total long-term fund. This ratio shows the extent to which the total of fixed asset and total of fixed asset are financed by long-term sources of fund. If the ratio is less than 1, it indicates that a part of the long-term funds have been used for the financing of working capital requirement. 7.1 Ratio of current asset to proprietors fund. The ratio of current asset to proprietors fund shows the relationship between the current asset of the firm and net worth or shareholders fund of the firm. It is calculated as current asset divided by shareholders fund. The ratio reflects the extent to which the shareholders fund are invested in the current asset. 8.1 Interest coverage ratio or debt service ratio. Interest coverage ratio or the debt service ratio shows the relationship between net profit before interest and taxes and fixed interest charges. It is calculated as net profit before interest and taxes divided by fixed interest charges. The interest coverage ratio does not take into account other fixed obligations such as payment of preference dividend and repayment of loan installment. Thus, total coverage ratio can be found out as net profit before interest and taxes divided by total fixed charges. On a similar line, preference dividend coverage ratio can be measured as net profit after interest and taxes divided by preference dividend. Last one, cash to debt service ratio. This ratio is an important improvement over the interest coverage ratio. It is also called debt cash flow coverage ratio. It is calculated using the following formula: annual cash flow before interest and tax divided by interest plus sinking fund appropriation on debt divided by 1 minus tax rate. The ratio is used to measure the long-term solvency of a firm. The more the coverage, the better will be the long-term solvency of the firm. With this, I finish my talk for today. Thank you so much.